With Coffee Stain finally giving us some details about the next Satisfactory update, I thought I'd give you my list of things I'd like to see in 1.1. For anyone that has a life outside this game, here's a list of what CSS have announced for 1.1. Very much I know, but let's crack on with my list of demands. We know straight build mode for pipes is coming, but that still leaves hypertubes without one. It'd be nice to have parity between all the buildables. Snot did mention that hypertubes work very differently to pipes in game, and so it's not just a quick copy and paste between the two, but I think it's still something we need. For those that don't know, there's also a straight build mode for train lines. Just hold control and you can build dead straight train lines. But I'd like them to go just one step further and make this a proper straight build mode, where you can automatically do nice corners just like you can with belts. The next one really isn't a build mode, it's just an alteration to the current build system for pipes, belts, hypertubes and train lines. I've never understood why when you hit the max length you are prohibited from building, and for example the belt support carries on moving past the end of where you can build. I think it'd be much better and faster if you hit the max length, it stops, and then you can build that max length. So for example, with belts, once you've dragged them as far as they can go, instead of the support carrying on, it would just snap to the end and you could build it. Same with train lines. Why do they let you go past the max length? Surely just stop at the max length and let me build. It would be so much faster than having to hit the max length and then bring it back a tiny little bit every single time. Saying this, I know nothing about game dev, and I'm sure maybe there's a good reason why it works like this in game. Lastly, being able to choose your support type when building would be really useful. For those that don't know, support types do automatically switch in game. So for example, if you're building a belt and I point at the wall, the support type will change from a pole to a wall mount. But I'd like to be able to switch between using conveyor poles or stackable conveyor poles, and the same for pipes. Just a small thing, but I think it'd be super helpful. Everyone is going to have their own list of buildables that are missing from the game. For example, half ramps or half stairs to match the half foundations. But these are the main ones I'd love to see in game. We have 1 meter horizontal walls, but it'd also be good to have 1 meter vertical walls. This would not only allow us to fill gaps made by using half foundations without clipping walls into each other, but it would also open up a lot of creative possibilities as well. For example, making something like this that I've made using the Infinite Nudge mod. Freely placeable wall holes is a no-brainer that the community have been asking for years, and there's not really much more to say about that. But one I've not heard many people talk about is glass ramped wall pieces for filling in gaps like this. It's not a big one, but it'd be really useful to have. I'd also like to see some new aesthetics added to the game in the form of new materials that can be applied to buildables. With 1.0 we got finishes that we can add, and more of those would also be cool as well. But I'd love to see a material in game that looks a bit beaten up, rusty or damaged in some way, so we can build really cool looking dirty oil rigs or rundown factories. I'd also really like to be able to add colour or finishes to more buildables. For example, the beam connectors or all the frames like frame foundations or frame pillars. At least let us add finishes to them. Again, my last one is a bit of a bigger ask, but it'd be really cool to have something that works like beams but was a bit thinner. So I guess we could call them planks? This would maybe just be a new beam type, and again would open up a world of new possibilities. Failing that, just a new style of beam would be great. I'm not asking for more lighting types, but the lighting system needs a bit of an overhaul. It's frustrating that you can only have 7 lighting colours in your whole world. So if you want to change the lighting colour of one of those 7 tabs, it will change every light that uses that colour in the world. So being able to select swatches more like you can in the paint system would be really useful. It would also be cool to be able to turn off the day-night cycle. I love how the game looks during different phases of the day, but it can get annoying when you can't see anything when you're trying to build. I don't think we'd get anything like the Sky UI mod that lets you control what time of day it is, but any in-game toggle that just lets us switch permanently to daytime would be great. I know a lot of people also want them to put lumen back to how it was in update 8, and I do too. Here's a comparison if you don't know what I'm talking about. But the post on the QA site says it's being worked on, and so hopefully that means it's on its way. Fingers crossed, this gives us a few more options in the menu to control how lumen works. But if you want to fix it now, you can using console commands. Hit the tilde key to bring them up, then type in this. I've put it in the description of the video if you want to copy and paste it. And that puts lumen back to how it was in update 8. There are some amazing planning tools for Satisfactory, like Satisfactory Modeler or Satisfactory Calculator. But I'd love to have a few more in-game planning tools. We have notes that we can use on the right-hand side of the screen, but I think we need something more. I almost didn't include this in this video because I thought adding something like Satisfactory Modeler into the game might fall more into the DLC category, but then I don't know if it's substantial enough for a DLC, while also maybe being a bit too big for an update. By the way, I will be making a video about what DLCs I think would work well for Satisfactory, so sub for that. So what I think I've settled on is just expanding the notes menu. This would give you a place to keep track of what's going on in game. You can maybe add a page for each factory you build in game and keep track of how much it's producing and how many resources it needs, etc, etc. That would be super useful for when you've not been to a factory in a while and need a little reminder of what you were thinking when you built it. We can already customize our play experience using the Advanced Game Settings menu, but it would be cool to have a few more options added in here for even more customization. One thing the community have been asking for a while is an option to randomize nodes, mixing up where they appear or what purity they are. This would make second, third, fourth playthroughs of the game much more interesting and give it a bit more variety. Also, pretty much all the settings in AGS make the game easier with options like no build cost or God mode. But what if you're some kind of sadist and you want to make the game harder than it already is? They could add the option to make it so nodes are no longer infinite, so it's more like Factorio, or just a straight up hard mode that ups recipe requirements and makes mobs harder to kill and spawns more of them in. Let me know what advanced game options you would add in the comments. The photo mode in game is very limited. I think it's another thing that needs a little bit of love, especially as the community love to share pics of their creations with each other. It would be amazing to be able, at very least, to be able to detach the camera from the Pioneer's point of view so we could more easily get the angles we want. But also, having some basic controls like depth of field, brightness and contrast, and the ability to change the time of day would mean we can take some epic shots to share with our fellow Pioneers. Next on my list is adding a bit more sign customization. I'd love to see a rework of the layout system so we can free place elements on different layers. I don't think that will happen, but a few more fonts, backgrounds and layout options would go a long way to freshen things up with signs. And last, and to be honest, definitely least, it could be cool to have a few more skins in game. It's very underused, and the only ones we have are Fixmas related, and therefore can only really be used during that period. But it would be interesting to have a few more in game, so we can add some flair to our belts or pipes at any time. They could be bought from the Awesome Shop or even unlocked by completing challenges in the game. That's my 10 things I'd love to see in 1.1. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in this next update. If you've enjoyed this video, you might like this one. I've been Scratch, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.